Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
You're very welcome back to Off the Ball on this Sunday afternoon. To get some more reaction now to the World Cup action from last night, I'm joined by Martin Lipton of the Sun newspaper in the UK to look at another disappointing defeat for the English team. But Martin, a brave exit in the quarter-finals, does it feel any better than maybe a meek one in the semi-finals?
Well, not entirely, no, but the performance was pretty good, wasn't it? They were, I think, marginally the better of two excellent teams. Small details is often the case in proper matches. It's how it's supposed to be. If you don't take your chances, you probably deserve to go home. But I think in performance-wise, that's the best England have played in a big game against a big team for quite some time.
Yeah, a Southgate side really battling all up front and taking on who are the defending world champions. What part of the performance were you happiest with most?
Well, I think there was no real weakness. Apart from the first 15 minutes when they were slightly slow, I think that Shaw was struggling early on, but he got a grip. Other than that, it's hard to pick a fault other than the lack of goals. I mean, they certainly created opportunities. They passed the ball, dominated possession. The criticism before of Southgate against Croatia and Italy was that he didn't have enough of the ball and just tried to defend and couldn't get at the other team and ceded possession. Well, that can't be said last night at all, can it? I mean, England were the dominant force, even though they couldn't get the goals. They deserved a bit of luck. They had two penalties. They may have had others. I don't think necessarily they were cast iron penalties, but I think some of the decisions, the marginal ones, slightly went France's way, but that's football. You've got to live with that and get on with it.
Let's get the SEO results up. Was the handbrake on or off last night for you?
Well, it was certainly on and off for me. I thought they had a go. I mean, let's be honest, once they started to believe in themselves, when Foden started to come inside, when they got the ball to Saka, who attacked, if you were going to criticise them at all, you would say that team's all well and good, but it hasn't got a real passer in midfield. It hasn't got a 10, a creative influence. I suppose the best one to do that would have been Kane, but he's playing at 9 as well, and he can't really play both roles. Maybe Maddison, but he's not fit enough and hasn't had a kick in the tournament. So you're lacking perhaps that one playmaker, quality footballer just to play behind in the hole behind the 9. But other than that, I'm not sure what else England could have done.
You mentioned Kane there. We were speaking about him earlier on, where he was very much the number 9 in the 2018 tournament and had started to drop back a little bit and opened up that space that was really, taken advantage of by the likes of Marcus Rashford and Phil Foden. When he returned to that number 9 spot last night, do you think that maybe had there been other options, Callum Wilson maybe coming in, was it better to keep Kane at number 10 or to push him back up to number 9 last night?
He was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah,
murdered. I mean, let's be honest. Look at what he did to Upamecano in that game. He had him for breakfast, lunch and dinner. He's one of the best centre-halves in the world. He didn't have a clue where he was. He was shaking his head in disbelief. There's one moment when Saka possibly could have scored when the ball came in from the left. And Upamecano's looking around trying to find Kane, who's 40 yards away. He hasn't got a clue where he is at any point. The one thing Kane didn't do was score his penalty. Other than that, he was absolutely outstanding. And to question his performance is utterly nonsensical, I'd say.
Yeah, but in terms of everybody else's performance,
they should have won the game. So how can you criticise the performance? It wasn't as if they were played off the park. Sometimes you play well and lose because it's a sport. I've seen brilliant teams play well and lose before. I'm not saying England are a brilliant team by any stretch. They're a good team and they didn't deserve to lose probably last night. But sometimes you lose.
Absolutely. And the brightest spark probably last night was probably Bukayo Saka. He was taken off midway through the game. Do we know if that was a tactical switch or was it just a case of him tiring?
Well, he got a knock just before. He was hobbling after being brought down just before that. He went down twice, holding his ankle. I suspect it's related to that and also a sense that, maybe just something different in the last 10 minutes. Remember, they'd just gone 2-1 down when he was taken off, albeit that the decision to make the change had already been made. They were standing on the sidelines, Sterling and Mount, before the goal went in. So it was going to happen. But it would have been a decision that I think was related in specific instance to the fact that he got a knock.
And he certainly got a few knocks as well last night. The refereeing performance has certainly been on people's lips in this country. Has it been dominating talk in the UK as well?
I don't know because I'm in Doha, but
sure.
I suspect
from your friends and family, from the people you're speaking to.
Some people were moaning about it, but I just think referees are referees. You've got to accept decisions. It was nothing like the performance of the referee in the Holland-Argentina match. I think, as I said, a few decisions could have gone the other way. It was a foul. on Sacco before the first goal, but they're never going to bring that back when they've gone the length of the field. The penalty shout in the first half was outside the box, so it's not a penalty. It was close, but it should have been a free kick. Not giving the free kick was a mistake, not giving the penalty. There were a couple that could have gone the other way. But, stop moaning about referees. And Southgate was right, and his players, actually. We could have a dig at the referee. We weren't happy with him, but that's not the reason we lost. And that's the right approach.
Absolutely, and should be commended as well. All the talk, of course, coming into it was Kyle Walker versus Kylian Mbappe. Kyle Walker certainly stood up to the test last night.
Oh, he was excellent, wasn't he? I mean, he had one run on him in the second half. Other than that, I would imagine that's the least influential Mbappe's been at any game so far or yet to come in the tournament. And that's an indication of how well Kyle Walker played. The only problem with it, of course, is that he was so determined to stop Mbappe that he didn't really get forward. But you can't have 14 players on the pitch. You've got to play certain roles and against certain players. And that was the right role. The criticism, if Southgate had gone 5 at the back and played only 2 up, it would have been, he's too negative. And he plays with the back 4, he plays with 3 attackers, and he's still accused. I mean, I don't think he can win sometimes.
And of course, talk will now inevitably turn to his management team and whether they should stay on. Jacob Steinberg writing today saying that the cycle is not over for those guys, and the players seem to be fully behind him as well. Do you think that players' vote of confidence, will that be enough to keep him in the job?
No, it's the FA vote of confidence that keeps him in the job, and they don't want him to go. It's up to the only person who will leave if he wants to go is Gareth Southgate. It's down to him. If he wants to stay, he will stay. There's no one at the FA who wants him to go, no one in the team that wants him to go. I don't think there's that many, even in the media, who want him to go. There'll be 1 or 2, because there always are. There'll be some fans who'll moan about it. But certainly nobody in that squad wants him out. And I said the suits, as it were, at Wembley, can't think of anyone they'd rather have in charge of the team. And I think given what he's done over the last 6 years, that's absolutely right.
And just finally, Harry Kane's performance, you mentioned he was probably one of the better players on the park last night. A terrible blow for him to score 1 penalty and to miss the other one. And we know that, players like that can be really take a shellacking online and in person when these events kind of happen. Do you think that he'll have the mental fortitude now to take that back into, because his Spurs season will start up very quickly again?
Well, he's got Antonio Conte to come back to, so he won't have any chance to worry about things or dwell. We'll be on it. He will be. He'll have something to prove to himself, just because he'll feel this deeply for a few days. But football is a pretty strong character. You don't score 200-odd goals as he has for club and country without being strong-willed. He's got a tally he wants. He's 5 behind Jimmy Greaves' record with Spurs. He wants to be the next one to get to 200 Premier League goals. He wants to beat Shearer's record for Premier League goals. He's already got Rooney's record, or levelled Rooney's record for England goals, and wants to set a mark that will never be broken. He's got 4 or 5 years of international football left in him. I suspect, unless something changes, he spends the rest of his career at Tottenham. That's what he wants to do. He wants to win something. That's the thing, clearly. He's desperate to win some major silverware. But he's got a good manager at club level, and he's got a good manager at international level. I don't think it will harm him too much.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Martin, thank you very much for joining us, and I'm sure you'll be cheering on Morocco now.
I don't care, as long as football's a winner. No, actually, for the tournament, I think Mbappe versus Messi in the final is what we all want, isn't it? I think that's the great story, the passing of the torch, or maybe not if it's Messi who comes out triumphant. I think that'd be a terrific final. They are also the best 2 teams. I've loved watching Morocco, but they were more attacking yesterday than they have been in much of the tournament. Against Spain, they just defended. And I think it'll be much of the same. But of course, they've got so many injuries and suspensions now. I think they might be running out of bodies.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'm sure you'll enjoy the rest of the tournament. Martin Lipton, thank you very much for joining us.